Hi everyone, welcome to the fourth video regarding iOS 14 and getting your user acquisition campaigns ready. As already mentioned, we're going to talk about the FAQ, frequently asked questions. And obviously, as I mentioned on every video, the content that we talk about may be subject to change depending on the changes provided by the industry. So first of all, let's talk about the different questions that we heard from the market. So the first one we usually have is, will we see Google and its GAID follow Apple's path? So the GAID, so everyone knows, it's the equivalent on Android of the IDFA. It's the unique identifier on Android. So it's a Google Advertising ID. And to reply to this question is that we don't have any official information yet. Google didn't talk at all about this. There are rumors, obviously, but no official communication. What we really believe is that Google is very likely to follow soon because the digital universe at the moment is moving to more user and data privacy. We've seen that GDPR happening recently, other regulation in the US to protect users and protect their data. So the market is going in that direction. So we don't really see why Google will wait for that. So it may happen soon. We don't really know when. Maybe next year, maybe the year after. It's really hard to say. And the other question that we have is, how will Google do this? We may think that Google can provide a better solution than SKAdNetwork, because we've seen in the previous video that it provides a lot of limits, and the whole industry, I think, was not really happy when hearing that. But it's actually what we have to take from Apple. So we may think that Google may provide a solution that helps more the advertisers, the publishers, and the entire ecosystem. We'll see how it goes. The second question we usually get is, will my media spend move to Android? That's a fair question. We have, let's say, two answers. Maybe in the short term it can happen, but in the long term, not really. Why? So in the short term, what we've heard and what we've seen is that some advertisers maybe won't be ready, or others will wait for changes to happen or for the market to change to be able to really invest on iOS and keep investing on iOS. So some actors may move more budgets to Android, but to us, it's really a short-term strategy. Why? Because it would be complicated for any app to do without iOS. Because in the end of the day, in the end of the month, actually, the revenues you get from Apple will decrease. And if you have a business that's usually on both OS and iOS, users we know are very, very valuable. They drive the best ARPU. It's really really complicated for a business to rely only on Android. Some business do, but most of them don't and need both OS. And we've seen, just so you know, at Addict Mobile, an investment very similar on Android and iOS if we take every single app that we work on. The third question is, how are we going to see user acquisition investments going down? So that's a fair question. So the previous one was about, I have the same investment, but I'm going to move it to Android. And we think it won't be a long-term thing. Here, we may think that it's just going down, all the investment, but we don't really think it's going to happen. Very few apps can live without advertising. It used to be the case in the very early days of the app stores. But now, user acquisition is being essential to grow an app business, to get users, and to drive more engagement. So in the recent years, very few apps can do without advertising. So you will always have to advertise your app to stand out of the crowd of the millions app on the stores. Nevertheless, the way we do user acquisition and we advertise our apps may evolve because of the change on iOS. So we talked about how we will manage user acquisition in the previous videos, and it may change, as you found out, I guess. The fourth question is, can we expect a decrease on of CPM? So CPM is the price of media that you pay to advertise, okay? So the decrease of CPM may happen, but it's really hard to say due to the lack of visibility. There's very few integration done with SKAdNetwork. Sources are not all integrated. Not a lot of app developers have already set it up. So we don't really have a visibility on how it's going to happen next year when everything's rolled out. So it's really hard to have visibility on that. But we may think it will have impact on CPM. Why? Because if you have less IDFA triggered, it means that you will have less data. So it will be more difficult for the platform, the algorithm, to find the right users, okay? Because they gather data to make sure that they find the right users. But IDFA is a component of all the data they gathered. So if there's not many IDFA, it will be more complicated. So we may see a CPM decrease if installs generated are not as qualified as they used to, because you pay for the quality of the media. Fifth question is, will I see a change in my media investment strategies? So yes, they are really likely to evolve. Why? Because as I was mentioning, we'll have less data. So we may go back to, let's say, old school methods with less algorithm, less machine learning that has been trendy in the last few years, with especially the big platform that really focus on getting the right users depending on a lot of data rather than focusing on context, audiences, creative, and messages. So we may move back to this, to strategies we had, like, let's say 10 years ago, when it was the beginning of user acquisition for mobile, not even for apps. And we were more focused on finding the users where they are. So I may think of, I have an app with different users, and in that other app, it's the same audience. So I may think of just targeting this app because the context is the same and the audience will be the same. If I find the right creative and right message, then it may work. So we may think of such strategies, but what is sure is that we won't move back to something that's no data at all. We'll still have data, we'll still be able to work with the platform, with algorithm, but probably a bit less than the last few years. So again, we'll go back to the importance of the setup of the 6-bit conversion value, because that's what will give you data to optimize the best way and analyze your user behaviors. Sixth and final question is, what will be the effect on my retargeting campaigns? So we can tackle this with two things. So two types of sources. The one that have first-party data, so they own the data, so they can deliver retargeting using this data, okay? It won't be easy, it won't be the same as they used to, but it should be possible to do. And the sources with third-party data, so they don't own the data, so it will be impossible, almost impossible, to target without IDFA, because they won't be able to rely on other source of data. And they won't be able also to receive database, because it shouldn't be possible to share data from Apple users to other companies, because it means you track them. So it will be more complicated actually for companies specialized in retargeting, and especially relying a lot on IDFA to keep doing their business as they are doing at the moment. Facebook and Google I believe, will find solution to have that retargeting campaigns running, maybe with less accuracy as they used to, but still be able to use their own data to match user in an app and user they have on their platform. So that was the very last video about iOS 14 and user acquisition campaign. I hope it helped you guys to be ready for what's coming next. Please don't hesitate to contact your account manager at Addict Mobile or any Addict Mobile rep, and feel free to contact me if needed. Thank you guys, and have a good day.